Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from Bon Iver, entitled SABLE, fABLE. They released that on April 11th. This is the fifth studio album for Justin Vernon and company, and their follow-up to 2019's I. The band also released the first 4 tracks that make up the SABLE portion of this project as an independent extended play last year in 2024. And the fable of Justin Vernon continues to unfold in compelling fashion. What I love about Bon Iver is that the mystique that surrounds this band continues to find a different foothold with every project that they release. And SABLE fABLE continues that trend. I feel like this is an album that celebrates everything that came before it while also pushing this band into uncharted territory, both sonically and lyrically. SABLE is a project that marks a return to the style that put Justin Vernon on the map back in 2007 with For Emma Forever Ago, a landmark record. And I don't want to say that SABLE is a return to form necessarily, but there's no denying the similarities that are there. Both projects are minimal and folk-driven. Both of them are so raw. They are anguishing, heartbreaking. Both projects are a way for Justin to have gotten all this anxiety and all of this fear, all of these emotions that have really kept him from being the person that he wants to be. And I think so many fans out there identify with that. I think it's a big part of the reason why so many of us grew to love him in the first place. He says that SABLE is the darkest black on earth, and it rhymes with fable. I think it was a look back at this kind of man in a cabin narrative I've been absorbing over the years, accepting it in a way. But the rest of the record is sort of me doing whatever I needed to do to be happy for once. And I might say that about everything that he has put out since For Emma Forever Ago. As much as I love that project, I'm not going to fault an artist for not continuing to do the same thing over and over again. I think that that might be the definition of insanity. And I think For Emma Forever Ago wouldn't have the aura that it continues to have almost 20 years later had he continued to make music in that style. I also think that there's elements to that record that indicated the shift that would come, both sonically and lyrically. There's certainly underlying pop elements to For Emma Forever Ago. And while the use of something like autotune seems slightly out of place in folk music, it works on that project. And it's been great to see everything that he has done since that album. Not just the records that Bon Iver has put out, but all of the collaborations that he has done, working with Kanye and working with the likes of Travis Scott, Vince Staples, some of my favorite hip hop artists, incorporating that style into the sound of Bon Iver, incorporating electronica and just experimental music overall, really creating this maximalist style that is expansive, that explores so many different types of sound. It's captivating and so engaging. I think from a lyrical standpoint too, it's been unique watching what Justin has done. For Emma Forever Ago is a record that is very confessional. It's very introspective. And I like the shift that he's taken over the years, writing in a way that is more existential, more philosophical. It really reminds me of philosophers like Kierkegaard or Nietzsche, writers like Dostoevsky or Camus. And so with all this being said, to see that shift back to what he's doing in SABLE, doing something, again, that's minimal and folk-driven and something that is more introspective, really in a lot of ways was refreshing. And he talks about how it was essential for him too. Just the constant grind of putting together festivals, touring nonstop, and the pressure that I think went along with being that man in the cabin in the woods, being this guy that has made and found so much success from being in that spot of pain, that spot of anguish, and not being able to get out of that cycle, because that is where you're finding success. That is where you find people giving you a pat on the back and saying, hey man, stay in your lane. You do this well. I think that in a lot of ways in his head, he felt limited. And there was a point where I think around 2019, 2020, where he hit this wall that this is a project that could have ended, that could have stopped, that he felt like in a lot of ways it was becoming destructive to him personally. So it was great to see him put together SABLE and to unload all of this anxiety, all of this fear, all of this frustration, and channel it into something beautiful, something that all of us can appreciate. Listening to the last track, Award Season, on that EP, the way that it fades out, but then it fades back in, I was so excited. It's like, what is going to come next? What is going to be the next shift, the next move for this band? And fABLE is a brilliant project, I think, in all regards. This is an album that I think in a lot of ways doesn't seem like that much of a surprise from a sonic standpoint. I remember listening to 22 a Million, but more specifically, I, what he was doing on that record. And it reminded me of a combination of TB on the Radio and Bruce Hornsby. And then you get into the middle of the record to the track You Man Like, and I'm like, holy crap, Bruce Hornsby's actually on this record. It's a style and a sound that reminds me of Steve Winwood, reminds me of Don Henley. You get this 80s kind of soft rock vibe. The dirty words adult contemporary come to mind, but I love that so many artists have come to a spot where they're engaging in that. They're utilizing that sound, because I think at the end of the day, it's not bad sonically. Actually, I personally love it. I love the gentle nature of the music, the ability to just relax and digest more of the lyrical content that is there, because I think that fABLE is a record that combines a little bit of that existential quality while also going personal, but into lighter territory. This is a record that is about finding love. It's about digging yourself out of the darkness and finding that person, which is one of the most special things that I think can happen to any of us. Love is a complicated thing, and I think the contrast of SABLE and fABLE, the emotions that are there, are about as honest as you can get when it comes to taking a good hard look at love. This record, it opens up in the beginning stages. They're celebrating that newfound joy, that excitement, that zeal that you feel in finding that person, what they bring out of you. But as this record progresses, you get to the harder aspects of developing a relationship with someone. I think that in a lot of ways, it can be constructive to change, to become a different person, to become a better person when you are with someone. But you have to question what your motives are. It's like, are you doing this for yourself? Is this an honest move that you think is going to make you better as an individual? Or are you just trying to clean your act up for this person so that they stay with you? And I love that this album explores that, because it's a difficult theme to cope with. I think a lot of people have found themselves in this situation in romantic life. And so there's this essence of a little bit of heartbreak towards the end of the record, seeing that this particular relationship isn't going to work out for you. But the idea that you've grown from it, that you have developed perspective, and that moving into the future, whether it's with that person again or whether it's with another person, you find that you have a better understanding of how those dynamics work and how you can be more proactive in being a better partner. And I think that there's also that element of just self-care, of learning to love oneself again, that's really at the heart of this. And I think building off of the SABLE EP into fABLE, and just the run of emotions that you experience in about 42 minutes and 13 songs is really quite exceptional. Getting into some of the personnel, I love that Jimmy Stack is here to help him finish this thing off from a production standpoint. And I love that over the years, I failed to mention it, but there's that comparison between For Emma Forever Ago and SABLE. Both projects in their minimalism really feel like they're more about Justin by himself, isolated, doing his thing up in his cabin in Wisconsin. That just, the music in a lot of ways just feels like that chilling breeze coming off the snow, just blowing into your soul. But it's been really cool to see him open this project up to all of the collaborators that he's been able to work with over the years, including Rob Moose. I love his presence on this record. You do have musicians like Jen Wassner working on vocals and some synthesizer work. Michael Lewis, Andrew Fitzpatrick, Mac McCoffin, and just a number of other great musicians that are featured on this record. It's cool that, given all of the people that he's worked with, and I think the shift to SABLE for that moment did make sense when you think about his work with Zach Bryan, his work with Taylor Swift. We were talking about Jason Isbell recently and his new record, Foxes in the Snow, and that idea of returning to home. And that's something that has been a big part of Justin's life, having that space in Wisconsin, being able to return to this place where you can find comfort, where you can reset and leave knowing that you are refreshed and that you can just move on into life with revitalized energy and a new focus and a newfound perspective. And so kudos to all of these people for joining him as well. This album opens up with the SABLE EP. You get it's basically the 3-dot opening track that lasts about 12 seconds. I'm not really sure how to put that into verbiage, but your first song essentially is Things Behind Things Behind Things, your second track. Galloping, flickering percussive element, and just the dance of this arpeggiated riff. I love the bleak atmosphere that is created by this track right from the go. Deep vocal enters, followed by a sparse slide and other spaced out guitar elements. Gentle build to this track. A bit of bass finally is going to work in, but the music it's pensive, and it really captures the feeling of where do I go from here? And if you think about when this song was written back in 2020, this was that point where Justin decided that, I can't keep touring. I can't keep grinding out my life the way that I have been, but how do I move forward? And I definitely want to read some of the lyrics from this track because they are quite exceptional. I would like the feeling gone, because I don't like the way it's looking. I get caught looking in the mirror on the regular, and what I see there resembles some competitor. It's so freaking fantastic. I see things behind things behind things, and there are rings within rings within rings. I can't go through the motions. How am I supposed to do this now? Say we went out strolling. Say I went and told them how. The refrains on this song are exceptional as well. I'm afraid of changing, and when it comes a time to check and rearrange shit, there are things behind things behind things. And there are rings within rings within rings, that allusion to nature, especially, given all that we know about him and the beginnings there with For Emma Forever Ago. I got caught compiling on my own news. I never lose. And who's the benefactor? And how do we move without touching every interactor when there are things behind things behind things? Just a really great way to start this project off, that beginning stage of trying to rebuild, in my opinion. Speyside is your second track, great folk-driven acoustic intro, little duel between two guitars that are going to drop for a brief moment that allows Justin to go to work with the a cappella vocal, and then guitars are going to chime right back in. The vocal is going to have more of that signature falsetto sound, although I do love his baritone and the back and forth that you're getting on this record between the two. Fiddle halfway through just pierces the soul. And I want to read a few more lyrics from this thing as well. I know now that I can't make good how I wish I could. Go back and put me where you stood. Nothing's really something now. The whole thing's soot. It serves to suffer, make a hole in my foot. And I hope you look as I fill my book. What a waste of wood. It's such a good line. Nothing's really happened like I thought it would. I can't rest on no dynasty. Yeah, what is wrong with me? Man, I'm so sorry. I got the best of me. I really damn been on such a violent spree. It's so intense. And there's a lot of writers in getting prepared for this review and just digging into it that have compared this particular track, but SABLE in its entirety, as kind of like scorching the earth, that rebirth that comes from fire, and that fable is what follows the growth, the new beauty that arises. And I really like that analogy, the allusion to the pastoral, if you will, that is driving a lot of what is going on thematically in this record. Award Season is your fourth track. Got this droning fade in, soft sound of the sky, big gospel style vocal, synths slowly rise and develop melody in this track. Comforting piano works in. You get this hymnal sound, textures and harmonies that are working in. I think that this is probably the least minimal composition on this EP, and it makes sense given what we're about to enter into with the second part of this project. But the slide is brilliant on this track. A little bit of saxophone takes over that is so it's just so soulful. And I love the little bit of like chaotic nature at the end of this track. Music is going to fade for an a cappella finish. And then, as I said, you get that fade that just moves right back in to the opening track of fABLE, short story. Playful synths, guitar, and piano seem to all struggle to come together. I love the way this track opens. The strings swell to usher in the vocal and this joyous feel. And this record really, even for the darkness that it ventures into, is rapturous. It really is truly joyful. And you can tell that Justin, despite whatever pain he might still be feeling, is in a place where he's happy. He can look at that with better focus, with better perspective, and cope with it better. The track continues to develop, building into a gentle electro pop track. It unfolds in many different segments. Strings adopt a dark mood and a soft electric beat. And then it's going to lead right into your second track, Everything is Peaceful Love. I do want to read some of the lines from Short Story real quick, though. And as we venture into this, I think one of the most exciting and unique qualities of this record, that pop element that we've become accustomed to with the last few projects from Bon Iver, but the slide element giving it this undeniable country sound. And I think that is what makes this record unique from some of his other projects over the last few years, is that working in of a country style. But Short Story opens up immediately. Oh, vibrance, sun in my eyes, it gets brighter till you can no longer see, and you're not lonely, and you are no longer growing to face up. That January ain't the whole world, and falling snow's really overshone, and you're never really, really on your own. First thing is just be watched. Time heals, and then it repeats. You will never be complete, and the strain and thirst are sweet. You have not yet gone too deep. That's just phenomenal. He talks a lot. A great interview with Zane Lowe about life being cyclical, and with that nature, knowing that when life does, throw hardship at you, it's understanding that you have been there before and that you've made it out and that you are able to deal with this. It's not anything that's going to stop. Life, no matter what, is going to be difficult at times, and you can't let it beat you down. If you do, it's just acquiescing to the things that in so many ways are out of your control. And what I love about Justin is he acknowledges that. And a lot of his music over the years has also been about fighting demons, the things that you can control, and trying to overcome those to find yourself in a better place on the other side. So Short Story, great way to leave things off. Your second track, Everything is Peaceful Love, is got this ethereal droning synth and contemporary R&B feel. I mean, blending country and R&B just seems totally out of control. I'm not a big fan of the combination of country and hip hop. The idea of putting R&B and country together, I kind of put it into the same category, but he just makes it work incredibly well. Just killing it with the vocal on this particular track, especially when it shifts to the falsetto. It's really accessible without feeling like it's trying to be. And I think that that's one of the best things about the pop sound that Bon Iver has adopted with recent records. Bit of slide and country flair to finish on this track. Really nice way to close things out. Walk Home is your third track. Big drum beat and thick sparse bass keeps that R&B feel going with a bit of that country energy in the slide. Bass finds more structure and a mellow groove. I really enjoyed the bass work on this song. Piano adds to the mood. Rhythm's going to drop for a moment to focus on the vocal in this track, and then it's going to return. But Walk Home, a song about that, that excitement of sexual energy and that the new stages of a relationship. I mean, it can be one of the best things that not just the newfound joy you feel, but the physical element that's there, the passion and the way that unfolds and how it does affect you spiritually as well is really what is at the heart of this track. Day One, featuring Dijon and Flock of Dimes, is your fourth track. Got piano and dissonant synth element and vocal hits to complete. Big gospel influence on this particular track. The R&B elements at work as well. There's a bridge that is brief and it's focusing on this like shrill melodic element. It's really kind of jarring in a way, but fits the song nicely. Harmonies and coda are absolutely outstanding, and there's a number of different vocal collaborators on this project. Honestly, it's probably just too many to name overall, like all of the musicians that he's working with that he brought together to work on certain tracks. But a number of phenomenal vocal collaborations on this project, and the harmonies are certainly a highlight for me on this thing. From is your fifth track. Conventional rock percussion opens up this breezy rock track. Got this light pop with a bit of funk. And this is where I really, on this particular record, feel that 80s soft rock influence, talking about Bruce Hornsby. Peter Gabriel was another one that I forgot to mention, which is oddly enough, you think about some of these artists and the experimental way that they started off their career. It really is fascinating to see the shift that all of them take creatively at this stage in their careers through the 80s. Textures slowly unfold but recede when they start with the verses. This is a track that I enjoyed it, but it's definitely maybe the weakest link on this project. It's far from being my favorite, but that's not saying that it's not good. I still think it's an outstanding song. Leads into your sixth track, I'll Be There. You got this casual drums that open. It's soulful and minimal. I really dig the way that the track embodies that, because I would say overall, given the last few records, I, 22 A Million, this album is more stripped back, but this particular track I really feel it takes more of a minimal angle, and I enjoyed that kind of shift. Keyboards and sax and organ, they all take their appropriate turns on this track. They're all incorporated very well. Falsetto adds to the big soul element, bit of funk and jazz on this particular track as well that's driving it. If Only I Could, and Danielle Haim, I should say, is featured on vocals on I'll Be There. She's also featured on If Only I Could Wait, your seventh track. Get this clattering electro percussive element, sparse vocal, bits of guitar, and reverberating synths that work in. Eventually, they come together. You get this airy pop atmosphere on this song. And I love when the drums find their groove. Even if it's short-lived on this track, it's really nice the way the structure moves this song along. Song reverts to this minimal jazz to open. I really enjoyed Danielle's performance on this track as well. Synths are going to just soar gently in the backdrop while this track finishes with great harmonies between Justin and Danielle to finish. There's a Rhythm is your eighth song. Soulful keys and mid-tempo drums open. You got the Wurlitzer that Justin's working with on this particular track. Great strings and woodwinds at work on this thing. They might be synths, but I think they are actual string elements and woodwind elements there. You got this contemporary jazz feel. Again, that adult contemporary thing comes into play here, and I don't think that they are dirty words at all. Justin showcasing that brilliantly on this song. I dig the slide work that's working throughout this track, and you get this soft extended fade out. And what I love about these last two tracks, If Only I Could and If Only I Could Wait, and There's a Rhythm, I want to read the lyrics from There's a Rhythm. Can I feel another way, or are less and more the same? Can I really still complain? To be back here once again, there are miles and miles of tape. You can watch, it's been saved. There's a rhythm to reclaim. Get tall and walk away. there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm. You get another really nice refrain here. I've had one home that I've known, and maybe it's the time to go. I could leave behind the snow for a land of palm and gold. I love what he's alluding to here. But there are miles and miles to go. I've been down this road before. There's another chance to show. No need to crow no more. Day rider, stay lighter, stay lighter. Day fighter, day fire, stay minding and mine it. I went to see you there in Spain. That was a month ago and change. And now I think you need some space. I will pause and stand with Spade, 'cause you really are, babe. And I mean, a little bit of cheese there, but it's working. Like I love the kind of simplicity of the rhyme schemes there. And it's really what is at the heart of this. And this is that point on the record where you have two individuals that are acknowledging that maybe this isn't necessarily going to work out, but still celebrating the fact that for a moment in time, they did get to have each other. And, you know, some of the best partners that I've had, at this, you know, stage in the game, looking back in hindsight, it's nice to be in a place where you can have that perspective, where you can be thankful for having that person and what they brought to your life at that moment, what they taught you, the lessons that, you know, they themselves and the relationship that you developed with them imparts. Now things really are arranged, and there's a rhythm. It finishes that with that refrain. And then Au revoir is your last track. This is kind of just a free-form jam session with everybody involved on this project, pretty much. Just a great group improvisation that leaves you, again, kind of like on the edge of your seat, on that cliff of, you know, what is to come next with Bon Iver. And what I love is that who knows what he's going to do next. If we're going to get more of that folk driven, minimal acoustic vibe, if we're going to get a different exploration of sound with the next record, building off of everything that he's worked so hard to do over the last 2 decades. I applaud this effort. I think that Justin continues to be one of those top tier artists, both musically, how he is just in such high demand. He's one of those artists that I don't feel really gets the visibility that they deserve, but he's also the type of personality that I don't think cares to have that. I think there's a level of anonymity that he appreciates and enjoys. I don't think he's the type of guy that most people would recognize just walking down the street, going out in public. You know, the idea of being able to have some normalcy in everyday life, I'm sure, is a big part of where he's found happiness in this new phase in his life. And I just, you know, if you haven't checked this record out yet, give this thing a spin. I promise you might shed a tear or two. You'll find yourself really enjoying a beautiful body of music while also thinking a lot about just so many things that affect your own life, but while also thinking about the bigger world around you. It's that combination of introverted perspective, but also existentialism that I think he's crushing it with on this record. I'm going to give this record an 8.2 out of 10 and a big vinyl please. Hope you enjoy listening to this album. Hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025.